What happens when one of the biggest pop stars in the world walks onto a morning show stage expecting respect and walks off seconds away from a complete meltdown? In just 27 seconds, a single dismissive comment from Michael Strahan turned what should have been a friendly interview into the most explosive morning television moment anyone had ever witnessed. Britney Spears arrived at the Good Morning America studio that morning with her team, ready to talk about her new projects and connect with fans. The energy in the studio felt electric. The cameras were rolling, the audience was buzzing with excitement, and the panel was ready. Michael Strahan sat in the center chair, flanked by Robin Roberts on his left and George Stephanopoulos on his right. Ginger Z stood near the weather screen, waiting for her segment after the interview. Britney walked onto the set, waving to the crowd. The applause was deafening. She wore a simple white blouse and jeans, her smile warm and genuine. She sat down across from the panel, adjusting her microphone as the production assistant gave the countdown. "Welcome back to Good Morning America," Michael said, his voice booming across the studio. "We are so thrilled to have a true icon with us this morning. Britney Spears, welcome to the show." "Thank you so much for having me," Britney replied, her southern accent soft and sweet. "I'm really happy to be here." Robin Roberts leaned forward with a warm smile. "Britney, it's wonderful to see you looking so healthy and happy. You've been through so much, and your fans have been incredibly supportive. How does it feel to be in this new chapter of your life?" Britney's eyes lit up. "It feels amazing, honestly. I feel like I'm finally able to just be myself and do the things I love without all the noise around me. My fans have been everything to me through all of this, and I just want to give them the best music and performances I can." George Stephanopoulos nodded thoughtfully. "You've been working on new music, is that right? Can you tell us anything about what we can expect?" "Yes, I've been in the studio a lot lately," Britney said, her enthusiasm growing. "I'm experimenting with different sounds, different vibes. I want this next project to really show who I am now, not who people think I should be." The conversation was flowing naturally. The audience seemed captivated. Everything was going perfectly. Then Michael Strahan shifted in his seat, a smirk playing on his lips. "So Britney," he said, his tone changing slightly, "let's talk about the real reason everyone's tuning in this morning, the comeback. I mean, you've been out of the game for a while now. Do you really think people still care about Britney Spears in 2000 and whatever we're in now?" The studio went quiet. You could hear the awkwardness settling over the room like a heavy blanket. Robin Roberts' smile faltered. George looked down at his notes. Britney blinked, clearly caught off guard. "I'm sorry, what?" Britney said, her voice smaller now. Michael leaned back, spreading his hands as if he were just being honest. "I'm just saying, the music industry has changed. You had your moment. It was great. It was huge. But now we've got all these new artists, in all these fresh faces. What makes you think you can compete with that?" Britney's jaw tightened. "I'm not trying to compete with anyone. I'm just trying to make music that I love and that my fans will enjoy." Right, Michael said, waving his hand dismissively. "But your fans, I mean, they're not exactly the demographic that drives the industry anymore, are they? They're busy with kids and mortgages and, real life. They're not streaming music all day." Robin tried to intervene. "Michael, I think what Britney is trying to say is—" No, Robin, let me finish," Michael interrupted, holding up his hand. "I'm just being real here. Britney, you had an incredible run. Nobody can take that away from you. But trying to come back now, at your age, after everything that's happened, don't you think it might be a little, I don't know, desperate?" The word hung in the air like poison. Desperate. The audience gasped. Someone in the back row whispered something to their neighbor. The camera operators exchanged glances. This was not going according to script. Britney's face flushed red. Her hands gripped the arms of her chair. "Excuse me?" George jumped in quickly. I think what Michael means is that the industry can be challenging for artists who are returning after some time away. But Britney, we all know you have the talent and the drive to... No, George, that's not what I mean, Michael said, cutting him off again. I mean exactly what I said. This whole comeback thing, it feels forced. It feels like you're trying to relive your glory days instead of just accepting that maybe your time has passed. Britney stood up abruptly, her microphone nearly falling off her lapel. Are you serious right now? I'm always serious, Michael said, that same smirk still on his face. I'm just asking the questions that everyone at home is thinking. You've been gone for years. You've had your struggles, your public meltdowns, your issues. Why should anyone believe this time is different? Robin stood up as well, reaching toward Britney. Britney, please, I am so sorry. This is not how we planned this interview to go. Oh, come on, Robin, Michael said, leaning back in his chair like he owned the place. We're journalists. We ask tough questions. If Britney can't handle a little honesty, maybe she's not ready for the spotlight again. Britney's voice shook with anger and hurt. A little honesty? You just called me desperate and washed up on national television. You just told me that my time has passed. Do you have any idea how disrespectful that is? Disrespectful? Michael laughed. Actually laughed. I'm being honest. There's a difference. Maybe if people had been more honest with you years ago, you wouldn't have had all those problems. That was the line. That was the moment everything exploded. All those problems? Britney repeated, her voice rising. You mean the problems that were caused by people exactly like you? People who treated me like I wasn't human, who picked apart every single thing I did, who made money off my pain. The studio was completely silent now, except for Britney's voice. Even the crew had stopped moving. Michael's smirk was fading, but he wasn't backing down. I'm not the one who shaved my head and attacked a car with an umbrella, Michael said coldly. I'm not the one who lost custody of my kids. I'm not the one who needed a conservatorship because I couldn't handle my own life. Robin gasped. Michael, stop. Right now. George stood up too. This has gone too far. Ginger Z, who had been standing silently by the weather screen, spoke up for the first time. Michael, what are you doing? This is completely out of line. But Michael kept going, his voice getting louder, more aggressive. No, you know what? I'm tired of everyone walking on eggshells around celebrities. She came on this show. She wants to promote her comeback. She needs to be able to answer real questions. If she can't take the heat, she should stay out of the kitchen. Britney's hands were shaking now, but her voice was steady, powerful. You don't know anything about me. You don't know what I've been through. You sit in your comfortable chair and judge people, tear them down, make them feel small so you can feel big. That's not journalism. That's cruelty. Oh, please, Michael scoffed. You're worth millions of dollars. You've had every advantage in the world. Forgive me if I don't feel sorry for you because someone asked you a tough question. A tough question? Britney's voice cracked. You didn't ask me a tough question. You attacked me. You mocked my struggles. You brought up the worst moments of my life and threw them in my face for entertainment. Robin moved closer to Britney, putting a hand on her shoulder. Britney, you don't have to stay here. This is wrong. This is so wrong. Michael rolled his eyes. Of course. Here we go with the coddling. No, Britney said, her voice breaking now. Everyone wants to treat me like I'm a person, like I have feelings, like I matter. George stepped between Britney and Michael. Michael, I think you need to apologize right now. Apologize? Michael stood up, his chair scraping loudly. For what? For doing my job? Your job is not to bully guests, George said firmly. Ginger walked over to join Robin and George. Britney, I am so sorry. This should never have happened. Michael threw his hands up. This is unbelievable. I'm the bad guy now. Britney wiped her eyes, smudging her makeup. Her voice was quiet, but clear. You didn't treat me like a guest. You treated me like a joke. Maybe if you didn't give us so much material, Michael muttered. That was it. That was the final straw. Robin turned on Michael, her voice sharp and angry. That is enough. Britney looked at the three sympathetic faces around her, then back at Michael. She took a deep breath. I came here today because I thought this would be a safe space, Britney said. But instead, I walked into an ambush. You wanted a spectacle, Michael. You wanted to see me break down. Well, congratulations. Don't put this on me, Michael shot back. You called me desperate, washed up, and unstable. You brought up my children, my mental health. That was calculated. That was mean. George moved toward the cameras. We need to cut to commercial. Now. But the cameras kept rolling. This was chaos. Michael pointed at Britney. You want to talk about mean? Let's talk about your diva behavior, your unrealistic demands. My attitude? Britney laughed, but there was no humor in it. You're the one who's been attacking me. Robin put her arm around Britney's shoulders. Come on, honey. Let's get you out of here. No, Britney said. I want to say something first. She turned to face the camera directly. To anyone watching, I want you to know that this is not okay. What just happened here is not okay. Nobody deserves to be treated this way. I came here with an open heart, ready to share, and I was punished for it. Don't let anyone make you feel like your pain doesn't matter. Michael scoffed loudly. Are you done with your speech? Britney finally looked at him again. Yes, I am. I'm done with this interview. I'm done with this show. And I'm done with people like you. She reached down and unclipped her microphone, letting it drop to the floor. The sound echoed through the studio. Britney, wait, George called after her. But she was already walking toward the exit, her head held high despite the tears. Robin followed her, still apologizing. Ginger stood frozen, her hand over her mouth. Michael remained standing by his chair. Well, that was dramatic, he said to the camera. George turned on him, his face red with the anger. What is wrong with you? I was thinking that I'm tired of pretending, Michael said. Those weren't questions, George said. That was an attack. Ginger found her voice. You just bullied a guest on live television. You brought up her trauma, her children, her mental health struggles. How can you possibly think that was okay? Michael shrugged. She's a public figure. She put herself out there. If she can't handle scrutiny, she shouldn't be doing interviews. Scrutiny is one thing, George said. What you did was something else entirely. You ambushed her. You went after her personally. That's not journalism. The studio audience sat in stunned silence, unsure whether to applaud or boo or just leave. The crew members whispered among themselves, sharing looks of disbelief and disgust. Backstage, Britney was surrounded by her team. Robin was still there, apologizing over and over, promising that this wasn't what Good Morning America stood for, that Michael would face consequences. But Britney wasn't listening anymore. She was gathering her things, wiping her eyes, trying to compose herself. Her publicist was on the phone, already doing damage control. Her manager was pacing, furious, talking about lawsuits and apologies and never working with this network again. Back on the set, the producers finally got their act together and cut to commercial. The bright, cheerful advertisements played on screens across the country while behind the scenes, everything was falling apart. George pulled Michael aside, his voice low and angry. Do you have any idea what you've just done? Do you understand the damage you've caused? I did my job, Michael insisted. I asked the hard questions. Hard questions? George shook his head. You didn't ask questions, Michael. You made statements. Cruel, hurtful statements designed to provoke and humiliate. That's not what we do here. Ginger joined them, her arms crossed. I've never been so embarrassed to be part of this show. That was disgraceful. Michael looked between them, finally seeming to realize that he was alone in this. You're both overreacting. She's fine. She's probably backstage right now planning her revenge tour, talking about how victimized she is. She is a victim, Robin said, returning to the set without Britney. She's a victim of your ego and your cruelty. I just spent the last 5 minutes trying to convince that poor woman that we're not all like you, that this show has integrity and respect. And do you know what she said to me? She said she should have known better. She said she should have trusted her instincts when she felt uncomfortable before the interview even started. Michael's smirk finally disappeared. She said that? Yes. She said that, Robin snapped, because apparently you were already making comments before we went live. Comments about her appearance, her career, her relevance. The crew heard you. The producers heard you. And now the whole world has seen what kind of person you really are. The commercial break was ending. The floor director counted down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. George faced the camera, his expression serious and somber. We want to apologize to our viewers and to Britney Spears for what just occurred during that interview segment. What you witnessed was unacceptable and does not reflect the values of Good Morning America or this network. We are deeply sorry. Michael sat silent in his chair, his arms still crossed, his jaw clenched. He didn't apologize. He didn't say a word. Robin took over, and her voice thick with emotion. Britney Spears came to our show today in good faith, ready to share her story and her music with our audience. She deserved respect and kindness, and she did not receive that. We failed her, and for that, we are truly sorry. The cameras cut away to Ginger, who struggled to maintain her composure during the weather segment. Her voice shook slightly as she pointed to the map, talked about temperatures and precipitation, tried to bring some normalcy back to the broadcast. But everyone watching knew that nothing about this morning had been normal. Nothing about this disaster could be fixed with a simple apology or a weather report. In the control room, phones were ringing off the hook. Social media was exploding. Clips of the interview were already going viral, spreading across every platform imaginable. People were outraged. They were defending Britney, calling out Michael, demanding accountability. The interview that was supposed to be a friendly promotional appearance had turned into a nightmare. The morning show that prided itself on being warm and welcoming had just shown its ugliest side to millions of viewers. And somewhere outside that studio, Britney Spears was getting into a car, leaving behind the chaos and the cameras and the cruelty, heading toward whatever came next, carrying with her the weight of yet another public humiliation, yet another moment where she was treated as less than human by someone who should have known better. But before she left, before the car pulled away from the curb, one more confrontation was brewing inside that studio. The commercial break had given everyone a moment to breathe, but the tension was suffocating. The crew members were whispering frantically to each other, some shaking their heads in disbelief, others already pulling out their phones to text friends and family about what they had just witnessed. Michael finally stood up from his chair, straightening his tie, as if nothing had happened. "Well, that could have gone better," he said casually. Robin whipped around to face him, her eyes blazing. "Could have gone better?" "Michael, are you hearing yourself right now? You just drove a guest off our show. You humiliated her on live television, and you're standing there acting like this was just a minor hiccup?" "She chose to leave," Michael said, his voice defensive now. "I didn't force her to walk off. She couldn't handle the conversation, so she ran away. That's on her, and not on me." George stepped closer, his finger pointing directly at Michael's chest. "Don't you dare try to spin this. Don't you dare make this her fault. You know exactly what you did. You went into that interview with a plan to take her down, and you executed it perfectly. The question is why? What did Britney Spears ever do to you? Michael's face hardened. This isn't personal. This is about holding people accountable. She's had chance after chance, mistake after mistake, and everyone just keeps giving her a pass because she's Britney Spears. Well, I'm not going to do that. Holding people accountable? Ginger walked over, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Is that what you call bringing up someone's custody battle on national television? Is that what you call mocking someone's mental health crisis? Because where I come from, we call that exploitation. We're journalists, Michael said, his voice rising. We report the truth. Her custody battle was public record. Her breakdown was all over the news. I didn't make any of that up. I just brought it up. Context matters, Michael, George said through gritted teeth. Intent matters. You didn't bring those things up to have a meaningful conversation about mental health or the pressures of fame. You brought them up to hurt her, to make her feel small, to get a reaction. Robin's voice was trembling with anger now. I have interviewed hundreds of people over my career, thousands, and never once have I ever felt the need to weaponize someone's trauma against them. Never once have I thought that the way to get good television was to break someone down on camera. Maybe that's why your interviews are boring, Michael shot back. The room went silent. Even the crew members stopped what they were doing and turned to stare. That comment had crossed yet another line. Robin took a step back, her hand on her chest. Wow. Okay. So now you're coming after me too. Is that your strategy? Just attack everyone around you until you're the last one standing? I'm just being honest, Michael said, but his voice was quieter now, less confident. No, you're being cruel, George said. There's a massive difference between honesty and cruelty, and you seem completely unable to tell them apart. A producer rushed onto the set, clipboard in hand, headset askew. We have a problem, a big problem. The phones are jammed. The website is crashing from the traffic. Twitter is losing its mind. Everyone wants a statement. Everyone wants to know what we're going to do about this. What we're going to do? Michael laughed bitterly. What about what Britney's going to do? She's probably already calling her lawyers, figuring out how to sue us for hurting her precious feelings. Michael, stop talking, the producer said, holding up a hand. Just stop. The network executives are watching this back right now. They are furious. Absolutely furious. And honestly, I don't think I've ever seen them this angry. Michael's expression shifted slightly. For the first time, a flicker of worry crossed his face. They can't be that upset. We got huge ratings. This is going to be the most talked about interview of the year. For all the wrong reasons, the producer said. Do you understand that? People aren't talking about this because it was good television. They're talking about it because it was cruel and uncomfortable and wrong. Brands are already calling, asking if they should pull their advertising. Our reputation is taking a hit with every second that passes. Ginger shook her head. Good. Maybe this will teach all of us that there are lines we shouldn't cross, that there are people we shouldn't hurt just for ratings. Michael turned on her. Oh, please. You're all acting so high and mighty, but you would have done the same thing if you were in my seat. You all want the big stories, the big moments. You just don't want to admit it. No, George said firmly. We want good stories, important stories, stories that matter. What you did today wasn't journalism. It was a hit job, and you know it. Another producer burst through the doors, her face pale. They want Michael off the set. Now. The executives are saying he needs to leave immediately. Michael's jaw dropped. You're kidding me. They're pulling me off the show? Your job is not to bully people, Robin said, her voice cold now. Michael grabbed his phone and his notes, his movements sharp and angry. This is ridiculous. I asked some tough questions. That's it. You know that's not true, George said quietly. You know exactly what you did, and you know it was wrong. For just a moment, Michael's facade cracked. His shoulders sagged slightly, and something that might have been regret flashed across his face. But then it was gone, replaced by that same defiant anger. "Whatever," he muttered. "I don't need this." He stormed off the set, his footsteps echoing through the studio. The crew members parted to let him pass, no one meeting his eyes. The door slammed behind him, and the studio fell into an uneasy silence. Robin sank into her chair, putting her head in her hands. "I can't believe that just happened." "We should have stopped the interview sooner," Ginger said, her voice thick with emotion. "We should have protected her." "You're right," Robin said, looking up with tears in her eyes. "And now Britney is out there somewhere, probably feeling like the whole world is against her again." The floor director approached them cautiously. "We're back from commercial in 30 seconds. George stood up, straightening his jacket. "We tell the truth. We take responsibility." Robin nodded, wiping her eyes. "And we apologize, because Britney deserves that." The countdown began. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The camera light turned red, and George looked directly into the lens. "Welcome back. Before we continue, we need to address what just happened. What you witnessed was completely inappropriate and unacceptable." Robin took over, her voice steady but emotional. "Britney Spears came to our show in good faith, and she was subjected to personal attacks that had no place in any interview." George continued, "The behavior displayed does not represent the values of Good Morning America. We are deeply sorry to Britney, to her fans, and to all of our viewers." Ginger stepped forward. "Britney Spears deserves kindness and respect. What happened today was wrong." Robin looked directly at the camera. "Britney, if you're watching this, please know that we are truly sorry. You deserved better." The studio was completely quiet. This was about accountability and humanity. George took a deep breath. "We will be reviewing what happened this morning. But right now, we want everyone to know that we hear you. We understand your anger and disappointment." "Mental health matters," Robin said, her voice breaking slightly. "The way we treat people matters. When we get it wrong, we must acknowledge it and commit to doing better." Ginger nodded. "We're going to do better. For Britney, for all of our guests, and for everyone watching." The cameras cut to another commercial break. The crew members were nodding in approval. Some were crying. In the control room, producers were fielding calls from network executives and media outlets. The story was spreading across every platform. Meanwhile, Britney sat in the back seat of a car, staring out the window. Her phone was buzzing with messages of support from friends, family, and fans. Her publicist was already planning their response. But in that moment, Britney wasn't thinking about statements. She was thinking about the look on Michael's face when he called her desperate. She was thinking about how her hands had shaken when he brought up her children. And she was thinking about how she had walked away, how she had refused to sit there and take it, how she had looked into that camera and told the truth, how she had chosen herself. Back at the studio, the rest of the show continued, but nobody's heart was really in it. Robin caught George's eye during a commercial break. "Do you think she'll ever forgive us?" George shook his head slowly. "I don't know. I hope so." The show ended. The cameras turned off, and the studio lights dimmed. The audience filed out, still processing what they had witnessed. And Britney, miles away now, sat quietly in the back seat of a car, her phone buzzing with messages of support, her mind replaying every painful moment. She had walked away. She had stood up for herself in front of millions of people. And despite the pain, she had shown them that even when someone tries to break you down, you still have the power to say no. You still have the power to choose yourself.